Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Hi, folks. Welcome back. Those of you that are new, welcome. From Real Clear Politics, Biden lays a booby trap for a Republican president. And here we go. When President Trump was elected in 2016 and sworn in 2017, he went after the so-called bureaucratic deep state. Not just in the DOJ, but in every single department, energy, education, you name it, transportation. 95% of all the federal employees that are in this bureaucracy, and I'm not talking about mail carriers and that kind of thing. I'm talking about the bureaucrats, the Department of Energy. They're all, 95% of them are left-leaning. And only I think it's from memory that the president appoints 4%. So they're there for decades at a time, many of them, going against the policies of the sitting president. And that's not the way things work. The president is in charge of the executive branch, period. So Trump said he would get rid of a lot of them or find a way to get rid of them. So Biden decided to change the rules so it'll make it even harder to get rid of these bureaucrats. Let's read on. The Biden administration is setting up booby trap in case a Republican wins the presidency in 2024. Now, by doing this, it does send a signal we're not that confident, but that's a different issue, I guess. On Friday, the White House unveiled a proposed rule that would make it even harder than in the past for an incoming Republican president to wrestle control of the left-leaning federal bureaucracy and actually implement the conservative policies promised to voters. Of the 2.2 million federal civil workers, only 4,000 out of 2.2 million are presidential appointees. The rest stay in their jobs from one administration to the next, protected by rules that make it nearly impossible to discipline or replace them. The EPA is a perfect example. Congress will pass a law, and then it's the bureaucrats in the EPA that administer the law as they determine it. That's not the way things work or supposed to work. They overwhelmingly favor the left. A staggering 95% of unionized federal employees who donate to political candidates give to Democrats. Well, of course, the great benefits they get while they're working and after they retire. Only a tiny of 5% support Republicans. Some federal workers in high positions slow walk or even derail the Republican president's agenda and get away with it. I remember in the military, a lot of bureaucrats there, that Trump wanted troops withdrawn. I forget from where it was from, Libya, I think, and many in Afghanistan. And they lied to him. They actually showed him reports that the troops were withdrawn when they actually weren't. I have no idea why people aren't in jail and or court-martialed. Why bother to vote if the left-leaning deep state stays in charge no matter who wins the presidency? GOP candidates Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis are vowing to conquer this obstructionism. Everett Kelly, union president of the American Federal Government Employees, claims GOP contenders want to politicize routine government work. Every single thing a Democrat touches in government, whether it be local, state, or federal, is about politics. You're right, it's nonsense. I have a different word for it. It's what the matador steps in when he leaves the ring. Nonsense. We're not talking about merit carriers. It's time to make lawyers, PhDs, and other top-level career bureaucrats implement the president's agenda, not their own. Duly elected president. After Trump won in 2016, they went to town, neutralizing him at every policy front, explains James Schreck, Special Assistant to the White House Domestic Policy Council under Trump. Hey, look at how much Trump got done in the first 2 years of the Republican Congress. And that's with every step of the way being stonewalled by these bureaucrats. Can you imagine what would happen? Not that they would even go along with Trump's policies, but just stand away and not obstruct him. How much more great things could have been done? That's really the problem. career lawyers, almost said criminals, Freudian slip, in the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division flat out refused to challenge Yale University's discrimination against Asian American applicants. That case ended up going to the Supreme Court, by the way. Trump had to recruit lawyers from other divisions after Joe Biden became president. The DOJ dropped the case. But the same career lawyers who refused to sue Yale made the losing argument in support of affirmative action before the U.S. Supreme Court. And the bureaucrats in the colleges, which is just as bad, they say, well, we're going to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling. There is no rule of law anymore. Whether you like the Supreme Court's decision or not, that is the final decision. Career health officials like Deborah Bricks circumvented Trump's instructions to moderate COVID lockdowns. EPA lawyers pursued cases after fossil fuel producers and withheld the information from Trump appointees. They think they're the government. They're the duly elected officials, and they're not. Trump mandated in a 2020 executive order the new federal buildings be designed to please the public, which prefers classical designs. Instead, General Services Administration architects chose modern designs they like. Trump mentioned as an example the San Francisco Federal Building, the ugliest edifice in the city. Yeah, Trump knows very little about building buildings, right? It goes on, including weaponization of the FBI against the president himself. They spied on President Trump in 2016 while he was a candidate. And then when asked about it at congressional hearings, the head of the FBI and other high officials say, well, it's an investigation going on, and we're taking disciplinary action. Disciplinary action? You fire the guys that lied to the FISA court. You charge them with felonies for lying to a FISA court. And then you put, after they go to trial, they'll be found guilty very easily, or they'll plead guilty, they'll go to jail. In October 2020, an executive order that federal employees who make policies should be reclassified as at-will employees who can be terminated. You're not there to make policy, these bureaucrats. You are there to follow the policy of the executive head branch, i.e. the president. Before it can be implemented, Biden became president. He canceled it immediately, of course, knowing that 95% of these bureaucrats will side with what he wants, probably even farther, knowing the bureaucrats were on his side. The rule announced Friday would show a president's ability to reinstate Trump's order. Democrats in Congress are going further, pushing for eliminate the president's authority to reclassify jobs altogether in the executive branch. The New York Times announced Biden administration aims to Trump-proof the federal workforce. They are at-will employees if you make policy. Ramaswamy vows to go further than Trump, eliminating half or more of civil service positions. Speaking as a CEO, if someone works for you and you can't fire them, they don't work for you. So they work for the president, but the president can't do anything about it. It's amazing to me. New York Magazine claims holding employees accountable is a threat to good government and warns that a Republican victory will mean a new class of federal appointees charged with a partisan agenda. Yeah. I don't like the Biden agenda. I don't like the Obama one either. But they were both the duly elected president. Obama was. And remember, he went back and forth right after he was elected with Senator McCain, now passed away. And he turned to him and says, John, elections have consequences, and these are the results. You might not like him, but he was duly elected. This is no different. Let me read this statement again. Claims holding federal employees accountable to do their jobs, I put that in, is a threat to good government. Think about that for a minute. Democrats and their media allies falsely romanticize civil service, claiming it protects merit over patronage. Merit was the intention of the civil service law created in 1883 by the Pendleton Act, but merit is largely gone. Scramble those 5 letters and you've got is the timer system. Time being you put your time in, get your pension, and live good. Federal employees got bigger salaries and fatter benefits than private sector workers doing comparable jobs. And they almost never lose their job, no matter how derelict they are. They put in their time and skate to a golden-plated retirement package. It's a gravy train paid for by John Q. Public. That's sickening enough, but it's even worse when these civil servants put their own leftist leanings ahead of the president and the public. They're paid to serve. Bravo the GOP candidates for pledging to take the step on the right direction on the deep state. Now, give you one little typical example, even though this isn't a fellow employee. In New York City, there's a number like 400 odd teachers that do nothing all day. They are so bad teachers, they won't allow them to teach in the classroom anymore. But the union protects them from getting fired. So what they do is these 400 odd teachers go into school every day. They put them in a big room together, or rooms, because there's a lot of them at different locations, and they sit there all day and do nothing. They get their breaks, they get their lunchtime, and they get paid a full salary. They sit there and read books. They look up stuff on the internet, and it's basically have a leisurely day every day. Plus, they get the summer off. And they get a huge pension retirement at the end after so many years. Why the federal employees are no different. You know, those are out there that have relatives or friends that are federal employees. They know what this article is about, believe me. We're not talking about the mail carriers or any of that kind of nonsense. We're talking about the bureaucrats in every single department. All right, so Biden laid a booby trap, making it harder. That just tells me their confidence is lacking in next year's election. We're going to have to see, because unless those bureaucrats are either curtailed or stopped altogether, it's going to make it impossible for a new president, a Republican president, to clean up the mess that's been there for decades. Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.